throwing stones, and they are fining him something like $700.
And how long have they kept him yet in the detention center?
They sentenced him for 5 months in jail and $700 fine.
They sentenced him for 5 months in jail and $700 fine, and he's 16 years old, and it was for throwing stones.
Yeah.
Is that right? Are the other children afraid as the result of what's happened to it, or are they continuing the work of the intifada?
إخوته اللي زيه خايفين من.
خايفين طبعا، والكل خايف. الكل خايف.
They are afraid, and everybody is afraid of being.
فيما لو يطلع كمان بنفس الوقت احنا
طيب هذا البلد مرتين يجوا يدوروا على البلد هذا. يعني هذا البلد.
They have been looking for this boy. They came twice to locate him.
Why? What did they think he had done?
They think that he is throwing stones.
And so they want to arrest him?
Yeah, they have looked for him for twice.
They would put him in jail? As small as he is? Small boys this age are in jail?
All these boys.
All these boys?
all these boys.
أنت بتشتغلي؟
لا كيف شعورنا احنا اللي بنكون مثلا مغطين شعرنا.
How are we supposed to feel when we see our children beaten by the soldiers? Sometimes we are asleep and all of a sudden we see soldiers jumping over the walls to the house.
بيجي بيلاقي تلفزيون بكسره.
And they destroy the
بكسروا كله بهاي
belongings in the house.
البيت كله بتكسر. كل البيت بتكسر. كله بيسحب حاله بيطلع. ولا في شغل زي الناس، ولا في مصاري، ولا في أي حاجة. فيش عملة إيش نعمل؟
And they are suffering from some economic problems because when they destroy their belongings, they don't have the money, they don't have income to replace that furniture. Her son, which was taken, provides for 10 children in the house.
And so what do you do now that he's gone?
وكيف عايشين الآن وهو محبوس؟ Their life is possible.
الحياة يعني ما تفهمينها. من وين الواحد بدي قضية؟
يموتونا وين أحياء.
They are trying to kill them while they are alive. They are squeezing. A child like this, where is he going to eat from?
يقول لهم قبل ما نتكلم عن حقوق الانسان برا يجي يطلع على ايش بصير.
بعدين بقول لك النقطه الصغيره بمهدوا لشعبهم انه بده يعملوا لنا مذبحه. لو احنا اللي بحلل بلاحظ انه بده يعملوا لنا مذبحه.
The jails are not only filled with these young boys, but also the intellectuals, the educated and affluent Palestinians now flooding the prisons.
The military government somehow believes that if they will put all the educated people, all the people with any capability to lead, if they will put them all behind bars, then the intifada will die out. And I went to see some of them in what is called Ansar 3 down in the desert. And it is really a concentration of some 2,000 people, the cream of the Palestinian society, writers, professors, doctors, lawyers. And the only reason they are there is that there's an assumption that if all of that class of people will be put behind bars, then somehow the intifada will die out, which of course is an unrealistic expectation.
Well, I'm a dentist, but also I'm the head of Hebron University, which is one of the 6 universities on the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip. I was arrested on the 10th of March. Why exactly, I don't know. Because on my arrest, I wasn't charged with anything. I was accused of being an active member in the Palestinian community here, and I have connections with the PLO. And because of that, I was arrested. Well, I did not have any chance to defend myself. I did not appear in court except before a judge, and I mean only for a few seconds. So he will tell me that I am under detention for the period of 6 months for the safety of the public. At 7 o'clock in the morning, we were tied up. We were blindfolded. We were put on a bus, about 150 of us. We arrived around 3 o'clock. Then the blindfolds were taken away, and we saw where we were. The soldiers were very tense there. We could survive, but the soldiers were getting very nervous. One day we were singing in our tent, and suddenly the soldiers started throwing stones at us to tell us to shut up. We slept on the ground. We had, 5 blankets, no pillows, no running water, only limited amount of water. We had 1 bar of soap for every 28 people, and it did not come every day. We had a disposable, razor blade, 1 for 28 people. It did not come every day. We did not have a mirror. It is really funny, when you don't see your face, a thing which you do every morning. And when you go for, days without seeing your face, you wonder what you look like. And I only saw my face when I was released, and I got to my brother's house in Hebron. And I looked at my face, and I saw it was burnt from the heat of the sun, and it was, I missed my face. It's really strange. It is a horrible experience. You think in this time you will not find a nation, you will not find a human being, or let me just say, a human being who thinks he's a civilized human being will treat another human being like that. It is amazing that the mentality of people still has that kind of thinking in it, that kind of torture in it. The harassment is still there. I get phone calls every day. They say they are from the Mossad, from the Israeli Mossad. They're threatening my life. They called me and they said they are from the Shabak. I said, give me your name and your address because I don't know where the Shabak is. He said, you don't know the Shabak? I said, no. He said, I'm from the Mossad. And your turn will be next. We killed Abu Jihad, and you'll be next.
You will be the next to be assassinated.
The government of Israel no longer confines itself to violent activity. It's now essentially moving to outlaw political activity with which it simply doesn't agree. If somebody is a Palestinian nationalist, if somebody takes the position that they are working to organize the Palestinian community, they have been perceived to be now and are regarded by Secretary Rabin as a threat to national security.
The idea is that you take away from the general society those who are very active on, and we have very clear information about their underground activities, whether it's inciting or whether it is actual dissemination of underground flyers or calling for people to riot or to demonstrate or to go on a strike. We try to remove these people from the general society.
There is either inadequate evidence or secret evidence which is never presented to the defendant, and therefore there's no opportunity to respond. In my judgment, from an international human rights point of view, the standard for administrative detention, the procedures, simply are inadequate.
As the number of Palestinians jailed soars, So too do measures to put pressures on those outside.
The house where the 4 families live was blown up.
They blew up your house?
نسفوا لكم البيت؟
كله عندك كباش كله عندك.
What was the charge?
شو كانت التهمة؟
التهمة إلي أخو أنا واحد مولوتوف.
They were accused of throwing
الأخو الصغير
Molotov cocktails.
من القتل، قولها من القتل اعترف على مولوتوف.
He says that his younger brother admitted the charge because he was beaten by the soldiers and he could not help but admit something he hasn't done.
والصليب الأحمر جاب لنا 4 خيام.
And the Red Cross provided the 4 families with 4 tents.
و30 واحد ساكنين في الدار.
And there are 30 people who are living in the house. لسه البيت موجود والخيام؟
كله موجود.
على الأرض هلا؟ The tents and the families and the remains of the house are still there.
احنا أول ما جا خذونا الثلاثة. هذا غالب وهنا ماجد وغادنا.
They came and took the 3 brothers, غالب, ماجد and فايز. Each brother lives with his wife in a room of these rooms.
كل من العفش مكسر.
And they have their furniture, but the furniture was destroyed when they bulldozed the rooms.
So they bulldozed the house.
بالبلدوزر.
بالبلدوزر.
Did they come in and tell you and the children and the wives to stand outside? They were going to bulldoze the house?
طلبوا منكم مشان تطلعوا برا مشان يهدموا البيت.
أجوا على الدار عندنا.
They came to the house.
نطوا فوق الحيطان.
They jumped over the walls.
12 جيب بقى معهم جيش.
There were about 12 vehicles, military vehicles.
نزلوا هنا قلت لهم أنا الكبير في الدار وأي واحد بدكم إياه أنا مستعد أجيب لكم إياه.
They came to the house and they started talking to this man here.
الضابط قال اطلعوا أنتم كلياتكم.
The officer asked them to leave the house, all of them.
بدوها من العرق. إذا ما أخذت أولادي.
And the mother said, I don't care anymore about the house if you took my children to jail.
Could you show us the rest of the house that they bulldozed?
ورينا بقية البيت اللي هدموه.
Just walk us through.
كله.
So there was a room here and they bulldozed it and they got through to the other rooms.
قول الحمامات اتكسرت وبيت المية طافت قول له كمان. قول له لا كلام نقولوا من سيارة الشيء نقولوا عند جيراننا. قول له حتى الآن قول له.
They don't have a bathroom, a toilet, so they use their neighbor's toilet.
Will you rebuild your house? What will you do?
يعني راح تبني بيتك من
لا ممنوع السلطات الإسرائيلية.
He's not allowed to rebuild the house without obtaining a permit from the occupation authorities.
ممكن يبني لك.
You're not allowed to rebuild.
ممنوع.
For how long?
ممنوع بتاتا. عارف لإمتى؟
بتاتا لمدى الحياة.
You mean it could be an indefinite length of time before the Israelis give you a permit allowing you to rebuild that you have to live like this?
يعني ممكن تكون المنع لفترة غير محدودة.
لا احنا اجل حاكم بيقول ما دام احنا محتلين غزة ممنوع تبنوا.
I think that's the case. It could be for an indefinite period of time, but when the military officer came here, he told them that you will never be able to rebuild your house.
We feel that this is some sort of a signal to those who are active in these subversive activities. There is a price that you may pay. And we also hope that the families involved or those that individuals belong to will prevail with their influence on these individuals not to resort to these subversive activities.
As a matter of international law, the Geneva Conventions and in particular prohibit collective punishments. I think that there is a very serious problem in the cases, for example, of demolishing homes or putting people under town arrest where in effect you're punishing an entire population or community for the actions of 1 or 2 people. In a number of the cases of bulldozing or sealing of homes, there's no opportunity even for individuals to go to the courts to go and challenge the basis for these actions, which compounds the problem.
This is Sharif, your younger brother, right? Sharif, how old are you?
قديش عمرك؟
عمري 15 سنة.
He's 15.
And what happened with your arms and your legs?
ايش اللي صار لايديك ورجليك؟
أنا تأثرت كثير لما اجوا على الحارة سألونا على واحد وأنا ما بعرف وش
قلت له ما بعرفوش، نزلوا له أكثر من 10 صاروا يكسروا فيا.
The soldiers came to the neighborhood and they asked him about somebody whom he did not know, and they thought that he was not collaborating with them, so they started beating him on his arms and legs.
And then what happened? Did they take you to the hospital after they beat you?
شو صار بعدين؟ أخذوك على المستشفى بعد ما ضربوك؟
أنا لا صرت حطيت لزقات على يدي عشان أطيب، وقعدت أكثر حوالي من 3 جمع ما أقدرش أحرك ولا يدي ولا رجلي، ضليتني في الدار.
For 3 weeks he couldn't move his arms or legs, and he stayed in the house.
You didn't go to the hospital?
ما رحتش على المستشفى؟
لا أنا ما رحتش على المستشفى. بياخذوني إذا رحت على المستشفى بياخذوني على السجن.
عشان ياخذوا معتقلين قول له.
He didn't go to the hospital because he was afraid that he would be arrested there.
Those who have gone to the hospitals have shocked many of the European and American physicians treating them.
The first period here I was very bewildered. I just didn't believe what my eyes saw. The youngest one is 13 years, and the oldest one, he is 16 years. The youngest one, a few days ago, was beaten by the Israelis. For some reason, the soldiers broke into his home, and inside the home, they beat him up with sticks. And this is done in a very systematical way. And on this boy, we can count that he has been beaten at least 15 times. And he has a broken left arm, and he will have to have a cast on that arm for some weeks. The official casualty figures for the first 5 months of the Intifada is 1,200 casualties. That is what they distributed to the world. And the real number is far in excess of 20,000. The total number of hospital beds in the Gaza territory is a little more than 900, and the total population is 650,000 people, which means that the number of hospital beds here is around 1/4 of what would be considered reasonable. People in the territory, the refugees, they have very little access to hospital treatment. We have had here at the hospital 1,100 casualties in 5 months. Then you don't need much imagination to see that the whole thing will collapse.
This patient is 14 years old. The bullet which hit this boy was from the one which explodes inside the body. When this bullet hits any organ, let's say a liver or even a bone or anything, it will fragment to small pieces. These pieces will go to anywhere in the body, making more injuries. And because of that, from that time till now, this patient is having a recurrent infection, and the wound is not healed.
Has your ability to treat patients ever been interfered with?
You mean by the soldiers? Oh, many times. See, once I was going with the ambulance to a camp in order to get some injured people, and when we reached the beginning of the camp, soldiers stopped us and let us wait for about 2 hours, just doing nothing, and tell us, okay, wait, we didn't have the order to let you to pass in. And after that 2 hours, and we entered, we found so many times. And once also